Look at the New York Public Library. Two massive stone lions, patience and fortitude, guard the entrance. Millions of people walk past them every year. But in 1931, one man walked past them and never walked out. His name was Elias. He wasn't a scholar, and he wasn't a tourist. He was a man who had just watched his $100 million empire turn into $17 in the span of a single afternoon. Most men in his position chose a bridge or a window. Elias chose a shelf. For 800 days, he lived inside the very structure of knowledge, hiding in a 4-foot void that the world had forgotten. This is not a story about being homeless. This is a story about the ultimate psychological heist. Elias didn't just survive. He used the greatest collection of human wisdom to steal his life back. In this 25-minute documentary, we are going inside the walls. We will see the blueprints he used, the routine that kept him alive, and the secret patent that made him a billionaire again. If you think you are out of options, stay with me, because Elias is about to show you that your greatest asset isn't your bank account, it's your invisibility. To understand why Elias went into the walls, you have to understand the height from which he fell. In the mid-1920s, Elias was the golden boy of Wall Street. He had a penthouse that overlooked Central Park. He ate at restaurants where a single meal cost more than a factory worker's yearly salary. He was a man of cold, hard logic. But logic doesn't work when the world goes mad. October 1929, the Black Tuesday. Elias stood on the floor of the stock exchange as the ticker tape screamed. He watched his net worth evaporate. Every margin call, every desperate telegram, every friend who suddenly stopped answering his calls. It was a systematic execution of his soul. By 1931, the shame was too much. He couldn't stand the pity in people's eyes. He stood in front of the library on 42nd Street. He had designed mechanical ventilation systems for similar buildings in his youth. He knew that these grand structures were built with dead spaces, gaps between the thick stone exterior and the interior bookshelves. He realized that the safest place in the world was the one place where everyone was allowed to go, but no one was allowed to stay. How does a man live for 800 days without a bed, a kitchen, or a shower? Elias slipped in through a coal chute at midnight. He crawled through the soot until he found the maintenance ladder leading to the 3rd tier of the stacks, a place where only rare, dusty law books from the 1800s were kept. Behind a loose mahogany panel, he found his fortress, a space 6 feet long and 4 feet wide. Every morning at 5 a.m., before the first janitor turned on the lights, Elias was at the basement sink. He would wash his face with ice-cold water, shave with a dull blade, and use a handheld mirror to make sure he looked like a gentleman. This was his armor. If he looked like a beggar, he would be caught. If he looked like a researcher, he was invisible. During the day, he sat in the Rose Main reading room. He didn't read fiction. He read the patent gazettes. He studied the laws of the ocean, the laws of the sky, and the forgotten inventors of the industrial age. He spent 12 hours a day cross-referencing names and dates. He was looking for a glitch in the system. When the library bells rang at closing time, Elias didn't leave. He hid in the shadows of the North Gallery until the guards finished their rounds. Then he would crawl back into his hole. He lived on dry bread and apples he hid in his coat. He became so thin that he could slip through gaps that a normal man couldn't. His mind became sharp, like a razor. He started seeing connections that no one else saw. In his 700th day, Elias found it, a patent for a variable frequency oscillator from 1904. The inventor had died penniless, and the patent had been lost in a legal dispute. But Elias, with his engineer's mind, realized that this old technology was the missing piece for the new radio empires being built in the 1930s. He didn't need a lawyer yet. He needed a strategy. He spent the next 100 days perfecting the legal argument. He wrote it on the margins of old newspapers. The day he walked out, he looked different. He wasn't the broken man who walked in. He was a man who owned a secret. He walked into the offices of a major telecommunications firm. He didn't ask for a job. He presented a cease and desist order that he had drafted himself. He showed them that they were using his technology, the technology he now legally controlled through a complex web of assignments he had discovered in the library's archives. They offered him $50 million to go away. He took the check, walked back to the library, and bought the rarest book in their collection just to donate it back to them. Elias's 800 days in the walls prove one thing. Knowledge is the only currency that never devalues. You can lose your house, your car, and your name. But if you have the discipline to study when the world is sleeping, you can build a new empire from nothing. What are you doing with your dead space? Are you filling it with distractions, or are you building your fortress? The library is still there. The lions are still guarding the gate. But the real treasure isn't on the shelves. It's inside the man who refuses to quit. Be like Elias. Disappear until you are ready to lead.